Wine was preparing breakfast for herself and her husband of 2 weeks. She recently got married to her boss son. It was an arranged marriage for her, but for her husband, it was a way to get his hold on the business. Van was very well aware of it, but she still agreed because she trusts the decision of her boss, who was like a father to her. Her relationship with her husband was okay. She didn't know why he hated her or he thought like that. He likes to mess around with her. He always finds a way or other to frustrate her but ended up getting frustrated because of not getting the reaction he wants from her. Thinking of Devil, and Devil came and sat on the stool near the kitchen island. His hair was still wet, pointing that he just saw her. Good morning. She greeted him with a smile, placing a plate of hot pancakes in front of him, and sat down, taking her plate to eat. Ew, pancakes? Who eats pancake early morning? I do. She said, taking a bite of her strawberry pancakes, nodding satisfactorily as the sweet and sour flavors melted into her mouth, blessing her taste buds. Well, I don't like pancakes. Okay. She shrugged her shoulder, covering the plate of pancakes with another plate. Make me something else. Waya smiled internally as she knew it was another tactic to mess with her. The kitchen is all yours. You can make anything you want. He scoffed. You are my wife. You make me something to eat. Exactly. I'm your wife, not your maid. You can make anything you want. I made breakfast like a good wife too. But what can we do when you aren't appreciating me like a good husband? She took the last bite of her breakfast and stood up, taking her plate before washing it. Wiping her hands with the hand towel, she glanced at her wristwatch. It was almost the time of her leaving for her office. A lot of work was waiting for her attention, as from the next day her new boss, aka her husband, was going to join the office. Just the thought of him in the office was making her anxious. She handled him at home, but how would she handle him in the office too? I am leaving. Feel free to use the kitchen. Bye. She gave him her sweet smile, making him more frustrated, and then left from there, ignoring him shouting from behind, Hey, you can't go like this. Make me something to eat. He groaned as she clearly ignored his ranting. He looked at the plate which was hiding the delicious pancakes and gulped. He shook his head and looked away. He glanced at the plate as his stomach growled in hunger. Well, who doesn't like pancakes? He loves them. It was all a facade to mess with her, in which he failed badly. He nibbled on his lower lip, uncovering the pancakes, and his mouth watered at the sight of honey dripping strawberry pancakes. He hurriedly took a bite and closed his eyes, devouring the taste. It felt like heaven. Someone was saying that he doesn't like pancakes. He flinched at her sudden voice. His ears turned red in embarrassment. Why are you here? You left, right? I forgot my bag, and thank God I did. I still don't like pancakes. It's just I don't want to waste food, otherwise, I will not eat them ever. Sure. She grabbed her bag and turned back to leave. I really don't like pancakes. Okay, she replied calmly before disappearing from his sight. He pouted, taking another bite of delicious but not likable pancakes. Wait until I join office from tomorrow. Vine was instructing the employees at their new boss will be coming any minute now. An employee came running to her. Ma'am, our new boss is here. Okay, everyone take your position. They lined up to welcome their new boss. Jimin entered with his father. He was wearing neatly ironed black tuxedo. Vine checked him out from head to toe. No doubt he looks good in casuals, but he looks fire in formals. All the employees bowed their head as respect, and he bowed back. Oh, acting like a gentleman, when he's nothing but a cocky and arrogant jerk with me. One by one, every employee introduced themselves to him, and now it was Wine's turn. He smirked at her. Before Wine could say something, his father, the former boss, spoke. I mean Lee Wine, now your secretary. A stupid condition he put in front of his father to not reveal their marriage. He forwarded his hand for a handshake with a smirk, which Wine reciprocated with a professional smile on her face. It's really nice meeting you, Miss Wine. I'm looking forward to work with you. Me too, Mr. Park. Don't you dare to trouble my daughter. His father whispered in his ear with a threatening tone which was clearly heard by Wine. Now it was her turn to smirk. Jimin gave his father a tight-lipped smile. He glared at Wine, who smiled softly at him. Your good time is over now, as I am here. It's not going to be easy for you, he whispered, making sure it was only heard by Wine. Let's see. Wine was peacefully working in her cabin. It's been 3 days since Jimin joined the office, and as he said, he had been trying his best to get on Wine's nerves. From giving her plenty of work to calling her again and again for petty things, he had tried everything, but Wine was calmly handling everything. It was irking his nerves. Instead of getting contented, he felt remorse for making her work too much. But keeping every other thought aside and prioritizing his ego, he continued whatever he was doing. One side taking another call from her annoying boss. Yes, Mr. Park, I need coffee. I'm tired. Okay. She hung up the call, sighing frustratedly. Tired of what? Ordering me around? Jerk. She cursed him getting up to get a coffee for him. Van entered inside with a cup of coffee after getting his permission. Your coffee, Mr. Park. She placed the cup on his table. Jimin, who was sitting on his rolling chair like a king, picked the coffee cup and took a sip. He scrunched his nose. It's cold. Though it wasn't, but the great Park Jimin wanted to frustrate her. But I just prepared it. He shrugged his shoulder. I don't care. I want another one. She mentally created a scenario to throw the coffee on his face and then banged his head on his table. She smiled, feeling contented. Okay, I'll get you another one. The smirk on his face was now replaced by a scowl. He was getting frustrated. As she left from there, he held his head and groaned loudly. After some time, Wine came inside his office with 5 cups of coffee. He looked at her, narrowing his eyes. I asked for only 1 cup. I know. These 5 cups have 5 types of coffees that you like. I make all of them so that I don't have to rush again in case you change your mind. He looked at her face, which was screaming tiredness. He felt guilt rushing through his veins. He knew he was going too far now. Sit. Wine raised her eyebrows at him. Sit and have this coffee. I have work. I'm not asking you. I'm ordering you as your boss. Wine sighed, taking a seat. Grabbing a cup of coffee, she took a sip, and smile appeared on her face as it seemed to be soothing her tiredness away. He bit his lower lip to control his smile, which was about to break out on his lips. It felt different, but it felt good. Those few moments were the first they ever spent without bickering while sharing the oxygen in the same room. It did something to them. It calmed their mind. A week passed within a blink of an eye. Jimmy stopped tiring her unnecessarily after the coffee incident, though he still tried to get on her nerves every now and then. But the thing changed recently was that he clinged on her when they were home. He always tried to initiate a childish conversation, which always ended up Wine controlling herself to smack his face on the wall. Wine let out a tired sigh, finally getting done with the presentation. She saved it and got up to get reviews overhead from her dear boss. She knocked twice and entered inside as she heard a faint come in from inside. He was too focused on his laptop, typing aggressively on the keyboard. Mr. Park, here's the presentation for tomorrow's meeting. She forwarded her tablet and a file she prepared to him. He carefully read the file and analyzed the presentation. By the look on his face, one could tell that he was satisfied with her work. But here's Park Jimin we are talking about. It's not that bad. We can use it for the meeting. Vine mentally rolled her eyes. Can't he just say it's good? His big male ego won't scatter with a little compliment. Arrogant jerk. Thank you, sir. Why are you thanking me? I meant to say that you need to work more harder from next time. But it's not bad. It's not good. Right, but it's not bad either. She smiled at him innocently while he glared at her, which obviously had no effect on her. I leave now. I have work to do. She laughed mentally as a scald covered his face, but he was speechless to make any cocky remark. Vian was eating her breakfast, frowning her eyebrows. Jimin wasn't there till now. They had a meeting after an hour. They have to left for office in about 15 minutes. Finishing her breakfast, she moved towards his room. Opening the door slightly, she peeped inside to find him sleeping. She smiled and about to enter inside to wake him but stopped as an idea popped in her mind. She stepped back. It ain't my job to wake him up. She shrugged her shoulder, going away from there. Grabbing her bag and the files for today's meeting, she left the house while Jimin was still in his dreamland. And that's all for today's meeting. She smiled as she was done giving the presentation when someone barged inside the meeting room. All the attention diverted to the panting Jimin. I sincerely apologized for being late, he said, glaring at Wine, who blinked her eyes innocently at him. It's okay, Mr. Park. Miss Wine told us that you were not well. Are you feeling better now? Ah, yeah, I'm good now, he said as he sat on his chair. We really like your ideas and we are looking forward to work with you. Jamin sighed in relief and smiled at him. I'm glad to hear that. You have a really talented secretary. She handled everything so well. She is. He gritted out and glanced at Wine. After some more business talks, the clients left, and now only Jimin and Wine were left. Wine started collecting her stuff, ignoring Jimin, who was throwing daggers at her. Why did you wake me up? You know how important this meeting was. This isn't my job. It's your responsibility. Wine scoffed mentally. As your secretary, my job was to handle everything in your absence, which I did perfectly. And as your wife, I am not bound to work according to you. I will do whatever I like. He glared at her. Vian, I know that's my name. Beautiful, isn't it? And I know you are not going to thank me, but still, it's my pleasure. She smiled at him before walking out, collecting her stuff. A smile broke out on his lips without him knowing. His anger seemed to fade away. Jimin slowly sneaked inside Vine's room early in the morning. He knew that she might be taking a shower at the time, which got confirmed when he heard the shower running. He smirked. Though he wasn't angry about yesterday, but how could he let her go that easily? He slowly tiptoed towards the bathroom door and locked the door, which can only be opened from outside. Let's see how will you come to office. I'll get a chance to scold you, Miss Perfect. Jimin 1, Wine 0. Jimin was grinning at his mischief. He glanced at the wall clock. Only 5 minutes were left to 9. Her time to come to office. He was so happy. He was busy imagining Wine's reaction. That's when he heard a knock. Come in, he said without looking at the door. Good morning, Mr. Park. She greeted him, placing his morning coffee on his table. His smile dropped as he snapped his head towards her. She had a smirk on her face. He rubbed his eyes and again looked at her. She was really there. There's other door in the bathroom which is attached to the closet, and luckily the closet was unlocked. Jimin cursed himself under his breath. I didn't lock you inside the bathroom, okay? I never said you did, she uttered, handing him his coffee. Jimin 0, Wine 1. She smirked and turned around to leave, but stopped hearing him. Can't you just let me win just for once? She chuckled and turned towards him. It isn't a game. It is a game for me. I want to prove that I am better than you. Sure, but your behavior says otherwise. It only shows how stubborn and childish you are. Am I right? He clenched his jaw and looked away. He knew she was right, but was he going to accept it? No, a big no. He scoffed. I'm not childish. It's just you are you. He was lost for words. What would he call her? Van crossed her arms on her chest. I'm not childish. He huffed and looked away. Okay, if you say so. Van laughed internally as the usual irritated look covered his face. Jimin 1, Van 0. Van pressed her lips to stifle her laughter and went out from there before she could lose her control. As soon as she left, a pout appeared on his lips. Jimin 0, Van 2. Van was walking towards her cabin looking through a file. She was startled as a man suddenly appeared in front of her. Hi. Oh, hello. You may not know me. I'm Max. I have joined since yesterday. Oh, I'm Lee Wyan. You are both secretary, right? Yes. You know I'm new here. Can you tell me where's the Xerox machine? I need to copy these. He showed her some papers. Maya smiled. It's there. She pointed in a particular direction. He thanked her before leaving. Few days rolled down, and Max always found a way or other to talk to Wine on the pretext of work. Wine was getting annoyed, but she couldn't say no to him. It would be rude of her. Wine was passing through the corridor when Max called her from behind. Miss Wine? She turned around with a polite smile. Yes. Can you help me with this file? Sure. She explained him. Jimin, who was going to grab a coffee, noticed this, and he didn't like it even a bit. He pulled out his phone, texting her to meet him in his office. Jimin came in his cabin with 2 cups of coffee. Wine was already present there. You called me? Here, have this coffee first. Mr. Park, I have a lot of work. I know, Mrs. Park. Coffee won't take long. Sit and have it. She flushed and looked away to hide her red cheeks. Grabbing the coffee, she sat on the couch. He sat across her, sipping his coffee. What was that worm saying? Wine frowned her eyebrows in confusion. That new employee? Oh, Max. He just wanted some help with some files. Jimmy nodded, not liking that worm sticking to his wife, but shrugged off his thoughts. Next day, Van was walking towards her cabin after using the restroom when again Max called her from behind. Miss Van. Van mentally rolled her eyes but nonetheless turned around towards him with a smile. Can you explain me this? He showed her a file and Van started explaining him. But his attention was not on the file. He was busy staring at her. Jimin, who had happened to pass through the corridor, noticed them. He clenched his jaw. Miss Wyan, he roared loudly, making both of them flinch. Come to my office right now. Wyan nodded and followed him without questioning. What is it, Mr. Park? She asked as soon as they entered inside his cabin. I wanted to complete these files. He handed her two files. But these are due next week. I know that, and I wanted to complete this today itself. Vian sighed. Okay, fine. She turned around to go. No, complete this here and now. Vian looked at him weirdly. Okay, let me at least bring my laptop. No, you can use my laptop. What will you do then? I need to sign some documents. You can use it, he said and made her sit on his chair. Wyan shook her head. God knows what was going inside his head. He was behaving really weird. Wyan started walking and he sat across her, glancing at her every now and then. Wyan was well aware of it, but was acting unaffected as she was too tired to waste her energy on him. After an hour, Wine typed the last word and saved the file. Done. He gaped at her. Already? Yes. May I go now? No, I mean, have lunch with me. Why? 'Cause I am saying so. Don't question me, I'm your boss. He stated with big eyes, trying to intimidate her, which had no weight on her. Okay. He ordered the lunch, and they had lunch in silence. Okay, can I go now? She asked as soon as she finished. But before he could answer, there was a knock on the door. Max walked inside, causing a scored look on Jimin's face. He bowed and smiled at Wine. He freaking smiled at his wife. Jimin's blood boiled. He so wanted to choke him right then and there. Boss, these are the files you asked for. He placed the files on his desk and turned to Wine. Are you free, Miss Wine? I need some help. No, she's busy. She is my secretary. She's here to help me with my work, not yours. And if you have any doubt, ask your other colleagues. Am I clear? Max nodded and left from there. You won't help him from now on. You're not his guide. I know, but that was very rude. Don't teach me. Bring your stuff and work here. While I'll work in my cabin. Miss Wyan, he stated sternly. Fine. It was night time. Wyan was working in the living room after having dinner. Jimin was sitting across her, staring at her. Wyan was ignoring it, but it was getting uncomfortable now. It's creepy. What? Staring at someone? You didn't say the same when that worm was staring at you? He murmured to himself. You said something? He shook his head, taking a seat beside her. He snatched her laptop. Let me see what you are doing. Hey, give me my laptop back. You don't even know how to do this simple work. Let me do it. You'll ruin it. He started doing the work that she was doing. She sighed tiredly. Few minutes later, he felt weight on his shoulder. He craned his neck to see Ryan sleeping on his shoulder. He knew she was tired but stubborn enough to prioritize work over health. And he can't just ask her to sleep and be the gentleman to complete her work. He sparked Jimin after all. Few more minutes later, he was done with the work. He kept the laptop aside. He looked at her with a smile and tucked her hair behind her ear, which were covering her face. He wanted to stay like that, but this position will cause a bad pain in her neck. He carefully picked her in bridal style and moved towards her room. He gently lay her down on her bed and covered her with the duvet. He removed the hair from her face and stepped towards the door, but he halted midway and took steps back. He kneeled down on the floor beside her bed and admired her beauty. She looks peaceful while sleeping. He leaned towards her, kissed her forehead. He left from there with a grin on his face. Vine was in the office canteen to buy coffee for herself. She was confused about last night. She remembered passing out on couch, but how did she wake up on her bed? Did Jimin? No, he won't. But there wasn't someone else apart from them. Did he really tuck her in the bed? Only the thought about it brought out a smile on her face. She was walking, having these thoughts on her mind when she bumped into someone. Not someone, but Max. She looked at her coffee and sighed in relief, seeing it safe. She looked at Max. I'm so sorry. I wasn't looking where I was going. No, it's okay. How are you, Miss Ryan? I am good. Do you mind joining me for lunch? Before Wine could say something, they shivered as they felt the gush of cold air. It wasn't the cold air, it was the chill they got from the cold glare of Jimin, who had his eyes fixed on them, leaning against the glass door. He walked inside and stood beside them, tucking his hands inside his pants pockets. He turned to Wine. Where were you? I have been looking for you. I have some work for you. I came to have coffee. He nodded and looked at Max with his sharp gaze. I don't pay my employees for chit chatting. Better focus on your work. Come with me, Miss Marvine. Vine gave Max an apologetic smile before following Jimin, though she was dancing inside to escape from the situation. Max clenched his jaw and fisted his hands. He glared at his boss for ruining his chance with her. Vine was waiting for Jimin outside the office building as he went to bring his car. Though they come separately in the morning, he never even once in the 1 month of their marriage let her go home alone. He waits for her until she completes her work so that they can go home together. That's how her husband Park Jimin is. Considerate but arrogant, gentleman but a jerk, handsome but cocky and self-obsessed man. Overall he's good as a person, but in the end he likes to mess with Wine. Wine was smiling thinking about him when Max approached her. She was surprised to see him there as almost all the employees has left for their home. I want to say something, Miss Wine. Yeah, I like you. Would you like to go on a date with me? Wine gaped at him, processing everything he just said. No, she won't. Jimin's voice came from behind as he came and stood beside Wine. Look, Mr. Park, you are our boss and we respect you a lot, but that doesn't give you the right to meddle in our personal lives. Please stay out of it. You, before I could speak further, Wine cut him off. I'm married, Max. I won't go on any date with you. But I thought you also liked me. I helped you few times as a good fellow colleague, not because I like you. I may sound rude, but we aren't even friends. Liking you is a far thing. Wine sighed in annoyance. This unnecessary mess was giving her a headache when all she wanted to go home and had a good sleep after a long tiring day. Max gave a sad smile and left from there. Wine turned to Jim to see him smirking. Are you planning to stand here all night? He grinned at her. Why didn't you tell him that I am your husband? Aren't you the one who wanted to keep this marriage private? Nobody should know. His smile dropped. He didn't like the feeling that erupted in his heart because of her words. She was right. In fact, she was always right. He was the one who was messing things up. Let's go. Next day, Vine was working in her cabin. She was trying to focus her mind on work which was filled with Gemma's thoughts. Since last night, he had been acting weird. He always do though, but he was unusually quiet. He was clearly upset about something. Was it because of Max? Vine sighed, rubbing her forehead. I need a strong coffee. Vine was walking in the corridor to go to the office canteen. Max appeared in front of her. She sighed. Max, I think I said enough last night. Vine, listen to me. I really like you. I don't care if you are married. We can still be a thing. Who is going to tell your husband about it? Vine looked at him in disbelief. The audacity of this piece of. A hard punch landed on his face, which made him stumble back with a force. How dare you! He crawled in anger. Before Max could recover from the effect of first punch, another punch landed on his face, which made him fall on the floor. How dare you even spit those words from this dirty mouth of yours? The other employees gathered around the scene, watching the drama curiously. Jimin stepped ahead to pounce on him, but Wine held his arm. Jimin, behave, we are in office. No, how dare he lay his eyes on my wife? He growled as he kicked on his stomach, earning a loud, painful groan from him. Wine held his arm tightly and pulled him back. Mr. Park, behave. This isn't a boxing ring. Ignoring her remark, he held her hand and looked at the other employees. Listen, everyone. This woman right here is my wife, and I advise you to keep your eyes off my woman, otherwise, the consequences won't be good. He gritted out and glared at the wincing Max. Security. Two guards came running inside. Throw him out and make sure I won't see him here ever again. And you, if you dare to lay your eyes on my wife, I swear I'll gouge out your eyes and squash them under my feet. Take him. He spat harshly and went away from there, dragging Wine along with him. Coming inside his cabin, he pulled Wine in his arms and hugged her tightly. I'm sorry, so sorry. He mumbled sorry again and again, kissing her head multiple times. Wine was perplexed at his sudden action. She rubbed his back to calm him. He buried his face in her neck, tightening his grip on her. Jimin, what happened? She asked after a few minutes of silence. He pulled back from the hug and cupped her face in his hands. I'm so sorry. For what? For everything. I have always been a jerk to you. I apologize for everything. It's fine. I'm not bad about anything. I'm sorry. Jimin, I said it's okay. Don't worry. He closed his eyes, resting his forehead against her. I thought you hate me. He opened his eyes and backed off. I also thought the same, but now I know I was just jealous of you. Jealous? Yeah, my parents are so fond of you. Why and this, why and that. They always talk about you. They loved you more than me. I was a little jealous. I want to prove that I am better than you. It is the main reason as why I married you, but what? But they were right. You deserve their love and respect because you earn it. I have seen your hard work. I too respect you for that. You were right. I was just being childish in my ego. I'm so sorry for troubling you. You don't have to say sorry. I mean, it's you who was getting frustrated every time. One chuckled. Yeah, right. He smiled, rubbing his neck. And what was that you did outside, my woman and all? Red hue covered his cheeks as he looked away, smiling slightly. Those were my emotions. What emotions? Love, my love for you. Wine looked at him stunned. It was unexpected. I love you, Wine. When, why, how? I don't know. I just do. I realized when that worm tried to get close to you. I realized that I can't see you with any man other than me. I won't lie that I wasn't scared to lose you. I really do love you. Wine was speechless after his confession. She cleared her throat when she saw him waiting for her to say something. Oh, I don't know what to say, Jimin. It was so sudden. I do like you, but love? I'm not sure about it. He smiled. It's fine, Wine. I can understand you are confused about your feelings, but we can try, right? It's not wrong to try. Wine smiled and nodded. Of course, we will try to build a strong relationship. Yes. Can I hug you? You didn't ask earlier. Wine. He whined, earning a chuckle from her. She opened her arms and he wrapped his arms around her and let out a breath of content. It feels more good than I imagined. You have fantasies about me. He pulled his head back and bobbed her nose with his. Oh, trust me, darling, I have more than this. Wine blushed at his actions. What do you mean? Exactly the same that you are thinking right now. Wine flushed and hid her face in his chest, making him laugh. Love you, baby, and I'll try my best to hear the same from you.